Redditors who are not in love with their SOs, why are you still with them? Hi Reddit guys, subscribe now to make me happy. From my sill. If I leave, I'm the perpetrator, breaking up a marriage, wrecking a home, etc. and hurting and humiliating my kids, my parents, my in-laws. But if I stay, I'm a victim of my miserable husband, and everyone wants to help victims. She's not wrong. I left, and I am now the bad guy and everything gets blamed on me. People can treat me however they want to, because ultimately it's my own fault for breaking up my marriage. Mostly this is my immediate family I'm talking about, and my ex. I mean, I do stand up for myself, but can't control other people. I'm thankfully not in this relationship anymore, but out of fear that he'd do something to hurt himself. He threatened to do it when I first brought up that I wasn't happy in the relationship, and he became incredibly manipulative. A lot of people are stuck in a Redditinship for the same reason, and it's just so sad. I'm glad you could get out of it. Yup, mine was crazy manipulative and emotionally abusive, so he completely isolated me and made me feel totally worthless. He often acted like he would kill himself if I seemed like I was going to break up with him. So when I actually did, he made a huge scene, leaving in his car, calling me to tell me he was driving up north and was going to drive into traffic, and it was, of course, all my fault. I had done this. I told him that if he was actually going to hurt himself or other people, that I'm calling 911. First I called his close friends to see if he was making it up. Then I called his parents to let them know what was going on. I told his mum that my next call was to 911 because of the suicide threat and potentially killing other people, and she said, "Don't you dare do such a thing. If anything bad happens to him in any way, it is your fault." K learned where part of his issues came from right then, lol. Called 911. Followed the ping on his phone for 2 days as he traveled north. Finally he stopped in a northern city and got a hotel room, where police got him. He ended up being sent to a psych ward for 2 weeks, where of course he called me several times whispering to let me know how much he hated me and that after he got out he was coming straight to over and was going to kill himself and that it was my fault. Fortunately he never did contact me again. He lived right around the corner for me. 4 other threats he made too. I tried to get a restraining order, but since he never made any direct threats saying he was going to kill me specifically, they couldn't do anything to help me. So I was just scared for 4 months until I moved to a new city, lol. Eater. Whoa, I've never had so many replies before. I appreciate everyone's comments and support. That's really nice, smiley face. My parents did not love each other, but have stayed together because of children. My parents too split up about 10 years ago, 15 years later than they should have. I grew up in a house really without any love, and while I'm fine it definitely still shows, and my parents wasted decades of their lives being unhappy. I was the one super in love. I don't think he was. Once every 4 or 5 months, we'd have some sort of discussion. The last time, it was that he didn't know if what we had was love. I should have seen that as a warning. But I convinced him to stay with me after an hour discussion. I think he felt guilty. I stayed with him through suicide attempts, drug-induced psychosis, and moved countries for him. I imagine he felt an incredible amount of guilt, and stayed with me because of that. I think he cared for my well-being maybe, but he wasn't in love. And it's painfully obvious now that I'm out of the relationship. I hate this one, because I can't just chalk it up to someone being a jerk. Can confirm, breakups where no one is at fault are the worst, hardest. When they're an a-hole, you can hate them. When you're the a-hole, you probably don't care. When you both still care about each other, it just will not work. That shoe takes an incredibly long amount of time to recover from and makes you question everything. I'm in this post and I don't like it. It just sort of became a habit, and when I realized I didn't have the feelings anymore, we had 2 young children and I didn't want to break up the family, and later when we tried couples therapy, this didn't change anything. But our son was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago, so I felt we had to stay together until he was well. My ex didn't agree and we were divorced this summer. My son is almost through the treatment and is doing fine. I have not been this happy and relaxed in years, and so far the kids, 6 and 9-year-old, have coped well with me moving and when they're staying at my new place. You guys did the right thing. Much better for children to have separated, happy parents than married, miserable ones. Glad to hear you're doing well. My brother can't stand his wife, hasn't really been in love with her since about a year before their wedding. He talks about divorce to me when we're alone, but he'll never do it. He thinks he'll never meet anyone else being 32 with no social life. Plus there's a strong possibility she might kill herself if they broke up, or at least attempt it. So together they'll stay. I just hope they don't bring kids into it. Frick. I'm 32, single, trying to have a social life. That's okay. You know what's worse than being alone? Being with someone that makes you feel alone. My boss has been vocal about wanting to leave, but he has kids and no prenup, so he can't afford it. My cousin told me about 3 hours after he got married that he didn't want to get married, but now he was terrified he would lose his house and basically all his money, alimony plus child support, if they got divorced. I told him that he should have said something 3+ hours ago and he said he couldn't. I then asked him if this was such a big concern to him, why he didn't get a prenup. His exact words to me were those don't actually exist. They're just made up for movies. They've been married just over 2 years now and I'm pretty sure it's only going to end if she leaves him or one of them dies. Considering he's 26 and she's 23 or 24, it sounds like he's in for a long, miserable life. Being in love seems like a state over which you have no control. I long ago made the decision just to love the woman who became my wife. Fortunately she made the same decision about me. Romantic infatuation has faded, but our love for each other endures. It takes work to maintain, to avoid taking each other for granted. Love is not an emotion, it is a practice. I love this. I have been married for 21 years and this is true. I also think feelings of being in love can come back. For us it was a matter of our kids being older now and us finding hobbies we love doing together. Reignited that flame. I'm glad we stuck it out through the hard times. Neither of us experience attraction, but we still care deeply for each other. He's my best friend. Also the marriage was mutually beneficial. Honestly that sounds like a good deal to me. It's a tad odd, but a marriage only works with a relationship outside of simple attraction. Did you ever think that maybe what you feel is actually love? What if that person left, never to be seen? Would your heart ache? I guess I have a different definition of love. This was my ex, not this user, but similar. She constantly would state how great we get along, the fun we have, the times we share, etc. She wanted to sleep with me, and she wanted to do everything with me for quite the time. And then she says yeah, but I'm not sure I actually love you. I think she was mixing up what real love is and what that 2-hour dramatic love movie is. My sister is a massive piece of shit. Constantly calls her husband limpy in front of people, in reference to his supposed limp dong. Tells him that she wishes he'd get in a car and drive off a cliff. I'm not saying she does this just when they are arguing. I mean she does this literally every single day, not even angry at him. He's been dealing with this bullshit for 20+ years out of the 30 years they've been together. The reason he does not leave her is that she would be homeless if he did. She has a bunch of felonies for theft, identity theft, prescription forgeries, etc. She used to be a nurse, had a decent career. Now she wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere. He knows that if he were to leave her, there's a decent chance she'd die on the streets. Other than him, everyone has abandoned her at this point. Just a side note, he is an incredibly honest person. Never steals, does not do drugs, goes to work every single day and works hard. The reason he does not leave her is that she would be homeless if he did. Someone who's that mean? Not bloody likely. People like her always find a way to land on their feet. Flowers are easy to kill. Weeds never die. Jesus, let her be homeless. I resoundingly second this. In my first relationship I thought I had scored the jackpot. I was young and he was young and jacked and smart. He overglorified himself and I just couldn't see that. I looked up to him as a god, mainly because he kept saying I was bad at my studies and cooking and basically everything that I love to do. I thought I would never get someone better, so thus I stayed. I thought I loved him. I thought that was what love was, but I was just proud that I had gotten someone so amazing. I was stupid. I had a similar situation in high school. I was stupid. Thought I was madly in love with the guy even though he repeatedly emotionally abused me. I thought I hit the jackpot because he was handsome and everyone thought he was cool. I stayed because it was the first guy to show interest in me and I had zero self-esteem. I thought if I left, nobody would want me. Part of the emotional abuse. Finally left because I was the worst version of myself with him and I think he cheated on me. I even remember after we broke up we saw each other and he commented on how much I'm letting myself go because I had something in my teeth. Fast forward, I'm 4 years married to the kindest man in the world whom I'm madly in love with. Okay Reddit guys, subscribe now to make me happy.